Ni hao, zao shang hao. The year is January 22nd, 260 BC in the Chinese calendar. Your name is Bolin Wang. You are an esteemed poet for His Majesty, Emperor King Huanhui. You are currently in the Warring States period of China. However, to you, it's just another day. You don't question the constant rivalry, the wars between the states, assuming it's always been like this. This is a time before the Great Wall of China, before gunpowder, and before China's first empire. The Chinese world is currently ruled by 7 great kingdoms, though later in the future, there will only be one. As you wake up to the sounds of people conversing, ducks quacking and shouting, you get off your terracotta pillow and your blanket. You share this room with your wife and your child. However, they've already gotten up to start their day. You got to sleep in today, a rare luxury in ancient China. You currently live in a house in the city of Yangshai, in the kingdom of Yan. Your city is one of ancient origins, being established in the Xia dynasty over 1,000 years ago. You've heard stories from the city's scholars about its founding, though to you it's often boring. Stories of mythical heroes, gods, and supernatural events are all a series of royal propaganda to you. You live in a 2-story house with a courtyard in the middle, just enough room to fit your family, your parents, and your godparents, along with your brother. Your family is composed of various professions. Your father is a successful merchant importing luxuries from Vietnam, Korea, and Mongolia for the emperor and his court of nobles. Your brother is a scholar in the city, creating historical records and royal propaganda to spread amongst the nobles and the peasants. Your godparents were successful rice farmers from the neighboring city of Luoyang. Your wife will look after your daughter for you today. She's expecting another child. Maybe you'll get a servant to help deal with the extra children on the way. You start your day wearing a men's hanfu, a form of long-sleeved robes made from hemp, though the nobility may wear one made of silk. You may not. You are not nobility, though you're also not a commoner either, wearing something somewhat in the middle, modest but not luxurious. You'll put your hair in a bun, and you'll tie your robe together with a cloth belt. You are a 25-year-old male, and your wife is 15. Today is bath day, meaning you'll wash your hands constantly today, and you'll wash your hair, and you'll take a bath. However, today's a busy day. The rest of your family is also going to take a bath today, and you have an important meeting today, so you have to just take a bath later. Your house is made of wood, paper, stone, and terracotta, built along the rules of feng shui. Your house is beautiful and a privilege to live in. The city of Yangshai had over 100,000 people at this time, with colorful streets, lined with wooden houses of various shapes and sizes, with markets and street vendors on every corner, people making puppet shows on the sides of the streets. Musicians ply their trade, and various chefs cook quick and affordable meals for the masses by their carts. You're a poet for the Emperor of Han, entertaining His Majesty with your beautiful and fully colorful poems, bringing to life many of the ancient histories, fables, and stories of the Chinese people. One of your famous poems you'll recite is the Tian Wen, or the Asking Questions of Heaven. You'll often play a musical instrument, such as a pipa, a flute, or a dizhi, though you yourself cannot play any instruments. You've gotten to your level of fame and reputation from reciting poetry with a band of musicians from many of the mercantile class, playing at parties, ceremonies, weddings, and business dealings. You're a literate man, a man of the word, though literacy was surprisingly common in this era, with even peasant farmers knowing a few characters. You've learned to read and write from your merchant father, and you've learned your love of poetry from hearing the stories, the myths, and the histories your father would recite to you. By reciting the oral poetry of famous scholars, kings, and mythological deities, you've helped sweeten many business negotiations. These rumors of your talent have spread to far places. One of the palace eunuchs, a man who's been either castrated as a crime or has used it to further an opportunity, has told the emperor about you and how beautifully you play. The emperor has asked you to play for him, a great opportunity for you. You'll be able to reach the ears of not only the emperor, but also some of his court nobles. But some of the emperor's courtesans are resentful of your presence, seeing you as a peasant and a threat to their influence on the emperor. The people of the kingdom love you, seeing you as a commoner who rose through the ranks based on his talent and skill. You'll go out and get food for yourself and your family, bringing a woven grass basket to carry everything in. You'll tie a leather bag to your belt full of qian, or spade money. Before the unification of China under the Qin dynasty, the various kingdoms created their own local currencies, often in the shape of small spades. These spades are used for large transactions and were often out of the reach for many peasant farmers. These blades were often crudely stamped with the creator's name to ensure proper manufacture and quality standards, with severe penalties for those that cannot live up to these standards. Though it must be said, it is not entirely known how accessible these qian or spade monies actually were. While you're out, you'll stop at a few vendors, buying a basket full of rice for 10 qian, a few freshly caught fish for 5 qian, and a gutted rabbit for 10 qian. It'll make for a nice stew for the family. It's time to go back to your house. Your wife will cook the meal for you, as this was considered the woman's duties in ancient China. Your wife comes back as you sit on the floor beside her, eating a bowl of rice with a roasted rabbit and grilled fish to eat on the side. A few herbs are placed on the top, producing a fragrant aroma. Being back at home and having had your meal, you must practice with your wife. Your band of musicians have gone away, though your wife does play the flute. Your wife has recently been learning to play the flute by foreigners coming and going due to your father's mercantile business. While you recite your poetry, your wife will play a flute together. Though this is an abnormal arrangement, you think it will please the emperor. The last entertainer to disappoint the emperor was beaten severely by some of his palace guards and had all of its instruments smashed. As you play together, your melody and poetry comes together like this.
疑是地上霜，举头望明月，低头思故乡。
You've had enough time to practice. It's time to get ready for your meeting with the emperor. You'll take a bath, wash your hair, and wear your finest clothing. A hemp robe with a cotton belt, a luxury import from distant lands. Putting on straw sandals. Those straw sandals may seem unrefined. Everybody in the kingdom wears straw sandals, including the emperor. Your wife will put on her finest tunic and white makeup. As you approach the palace, you recite the poem in your head as your wife follows you. Going up to the palace, the guards check her clothing for any hidden weapons and escort you inside, towards the palace chamber. As you enter the room, you bow before the emperor and introduce yourself and your wife. The emperor wears his silken robes with a crown, sitting in a lavishly decorated throne room, filled with jewels and gold, as the smell of incense wafts through the air. There are flowers strewn around the room. As the court nobles sneer and jeer at you, believing you disgrace the throne room, you begin to recite your poem as your wife plays along.
君不见，黄河之水天上来，奔流到海不复回。君不见，高堂明镜悲白发，朝如青丝暮成雪。
The emperor sits in silence. You and your wife sit in fear. If the emperor is displeased, he could be beaten, your profession ruined, and your home confiscated. The emperor remarks how beautiful your poem was, and declares you'll sing poetry and create poetry about the great Han kingdom. You've been tasked to create royal propaganda, a proposition you cannot back out of. While you saved your career and you've gotten more opportunities to ply your trade, you'll be walking a tightrope soon. While creating poetry and propaganda for the kingdom can make you easily wealthy and secure your family's position. One mistake, and you could end up penniless. The emperor bids you farewell, and later a court eunuch pays you 2,000 qian, enough food for a month. As you walk with your wife back home, you'll pick up dinner, more rice, and some sweet buns for the entire family. Walking through the stone streets of the city, as the sun sets over the glistening hills and the far-off rice paddies, you think of the poem you recited and the meaning behind it. This is just one day in the life, with many lives being similar or different to yours.